Hello, YouTube. I'm just connecting up with Facebook. I always get YouTube going first because it's the one that can be a little bit temperamental, doesn't always want to connect. Geez, I look so washed out. I got too much white. Maybe I should show more skin. Anyway, I've had such a busy day today. Okay. Where am I? Am I on the business one? Yes. Okay. Oh, shiver. Okay. Oops, go live. Sorry, I'm just getting organized here. Okay, I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. So I'll just wait for people to turn up before I get going. I always look very washed out and white. I remember I used to do a lot of TV and you're not supposed to wear stripes or white. So you can see my gray top. That's a bit better. And you just look pure white when you wear white. Oh, and you can't wear green when you're doing TV. Okay. Just waiting for everyone to turn up. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Beautiful sunny day today, but it doesn't feel like summer. It feels more like October. It's been really cool lately. Okay, so where are you from? Oh, I'm getting the yawns. Had a busy day today. Good sessions, though. Good. I like my clients. It was good. It was a good day. Busy, but good. Okay. Ontario. Hi, Cheryl. Martha from Indiana. Real hot in here. Well, don't brag. Come on. I'm in Vancouver. Vancouver is actually, it's a rainforest. So that it does rain a lot because it's a rainforest. So rain, forest. A lot of green, a lot of mountains, but a lot of rain too. I lived in Australia for about 20 years. It was stinking hot and I loved it. Anyway, okay. So I'm just going to introduce myself. We'll just get going now. Erie, Pennsylvania. Erie, Pennsylvania. Never heard of Erie, Pennsylvania. Heard of Lake Erie. Is that right? Lake Erie? Yeah. Is it anywhere near there? Victoria, Australia. Okay. Never got down there. We lived in Sydney and Brisbane. Anyway, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses, one for toddler, one for older kids. Or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list, but I'll get to you eventually. So just a sec here. Anyway, okay, so let's get going with your questions. I need help with my 20-month-old brushing his teeth. Just do it for them right now. If they put up a stink, just put on their favorite show and say, well, we're going to get your teeth brushed. So just do it while they're watching their favorite show. If they won't let you, you can turn it off. You can try that, or just pry their mouth open and just give it a bit of a brush. It's not going to be pretty. Like it's just going to be like opening their lips like that, giving a bit of a brush. They'll eventually learn. Oh yes, near the Great Lake. Okay. They'll eventually learn. Yeah, it's one of those things. You're not going to teach them that overnight. It's just, you got to keep doing repetition. But don't give into it and don't look frustrated because then they're kind of winning. Just go, I'm going to brush your teeth. Here we go. Like I said, it's not going to be good. It's just going to be getting them used to the fact it's going to happen no matter what. Okay. There's certain things you do that with. If it's a need that they have, like they need to go to bed, they need to brush their teeth. There's just certain things that you have to force on them. And then they learn to just do them willingly. But they don't always start that way. That's for sure. Okay. I can feel my eyelids getting heavy and just, you just have one of those days. You just don't quite wake up. My 15-year-old stepson is exhibiting scary behavior. He swears a lot, belittles us and our business and us and our business. Doesn't want to leave his room, and I'm afraid he will start hitting. Yeah, 15-year-old boys. The most common age that parents hire me for teenage boys is just turned 15. But it's like 90% of parents who hire me for a teenage boy, it's just turned 15. It's interesting. Hormones kick in big time. So yeah, everything you've told me sounds really stuff I work with. If you want to work with me, look into coaching. I am looking for parents of teenagers right now because I've got a lot of younger kids. So I like to mix up the ages just to keep it more balanced for myself. I went through a phase there where I remember I had 6 or 7 sessions in one day and it was all teen crisis work. I specialize in that, but that's a lot of crisis in one day. So I like to mix it up. I've tried all of those suggestions, and he is just impossible. I will keep trying repetition. Yeah. It's not going to be easy. People think there's a magic pill you can take. And how do I teach my toddler this? It's repetition. And don't act upset. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just do it. Physically, just make it happen. But don't keep talking through it either. Words make you look, I was going to say cheap. Words make you look cheap. Words make you look weak. Cheap. Crack me up. Okay, I'm a little bit punchy tonight. I've had a busy day. Okay. 4-year-olds still won't poop on the toilet. Super common. I think I had a client today. We talked about that. Super common, especially for boys. The reason is, well, there's 3 reasons why they don't like pooping on the toilet. One is splashback. Boys have a lot more equipment hanging out down there. So when they get splashback, there's more to be hit. You get what I mean? That's one of the reasons they don't like pooping on the toilet. The other one is hang phobia, or tugging on their bum when the poop is hanging there. They don't like that feeling because they're used to it smashed up. The third reason is cold. They like it's open air cold, and they don't like that when they're pooping sometimes, So what you do, so they don't like the cold, the splashback, and the hanging, the feeling of pulling. So what you do is you get a little porta potty, put some toilet paper in it so they can get their bum nice and low so their poop can touch the bottom before it's even out of them. Sorry, I have to be graphic. It's just part of it. So you're dealing with that. There's no splashback. And then, so there's no hanging, there's no splashback, and then hike the heat up in the bathroom. If you don't want to do that, just get a big blanket and put it around them in the potty when they're sitting there. Yeah, it's very common, by the way, that little kids don't want to poop on the toilet. It's very common. Whoops. I like it when people ask me something and they think it's something that I've never heard before. That is one of the most common things I hear when it comes to potty stuff. It's that they'll pee, but they won't poop on the toilet. We've done small toilets and it's not cold. Yeah, I don't know. Have you tried a show like incentive? You can have a chocolate chip every time he poops on the toilet. You just got to keep going with this stuff. If it's really a problem and you can't figure out what's going on, you'd have to hire me. I'd have to assess the situation. Also, he could be doing it as a control thing because it drives you nuts. Is that it? So yeah, I don't know. If it's next level, like you just can't figure it out, like it's not the stuff I've just recommended isn't working, you can look into coaching. New York. Hi, New York. I spent my 50th birthday in New York. Freaking loved it. I actually don't like traveling that much, but I love big cities. Anyway, we went to New York, didn't see we only went through Times Square because we had to get somewhere, but I'm not a tourist attraction kind of person. We walked for 8 hours a day, just up and down all the neighborhoods. We didn't get the Upper East Side. That's the only area we didn't get to. But more the West Side. We were staying in Hell's Kitchen. I just had a blast. Got to know a lot of people there. It was fun. That was like 13 years ago because I'm 63 now. But maybe for another birthday, I'll go there. I love New York. It was so much fun. I like the fact I'm a very no BS kind of person. I just say it like it is. And everywhere we went, that's what I found. Just a whole bunch of me. Just no BS. If you're in someone's way, they'll tell you off. I'm not that brave to do that, but I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I've been addressing my 11-and-a-half-year-old's behavior with chores as a consequence. It's working well. She's beginning to take me seriously, and I'm having less pushback from her. I'm feeling 100%. I'm feeling more confident. Excellent. You're putting in the work. Yeah, check out the behavior board. That's what this mom is talking about, is the behavior board. So if they break a rule, then they have to do a chore. It's a little bit more to it than that, but check it out. It's free. The behavior board is completely free. Or you can look into courses too if you want. The behavior board is just like sort of the training wheels of all this. We go off the board. Like I would never use a behavior board. It's a teaching tool. It teaches you how to lay down rules and consequences and how to follow through. And it's paced out. You start with 1 rule per week. So by the end of week 3, you've got 3 behavior boards. You start slow. Don't address everything. I would, but I'm level 10 with what I teach because I invented it. But when you're learning how to do this, you start small. It's like anything. When you're learning, you're just starting small, right? Okay. 5-year-old does not seem fazed if he gets a consequence or punishment for a bad choice. I don't know what to do. Check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds. It goes into more detail about all this stuff. But yeah, there's always something you can do. There's always something. You're missing something. You just haven't found it yet. Yeah, if you want my personal help, that would be coaching. But the boot camp course goes into more detail. Eventually they'll clue in. They may pretend to not care about stuff, but there's usually something you can find. I even put a section in there about inventing leverage when you can't find any. You have to invent it. That's my last ditch. I don't like to do that, but sometimes we have to do it. I don't want to talk about that here because I don't want people to start doing that. Like, I don't want that to be the first thing you do. That's sort of the last thing you try if you can't find anything that's working. Done rewards, still won't work. Oh, I don't do rewards. Ever. I don't reward for good behavior. That's my baseline. I never reward for good behavior. Why would you? Could you imagine if your spouse said to you, you were good all day today. I'm going to give you a cookie. How would you feel? Like, what was I yesterday? Right? Rewarding for good behavior is calling them rotten. It's an insult. Can't stand it. Yeah, I don't reward for good behavior. Oh, with the potty, that's different. That's incentive for pooping. Pooping is not behavior. That's an accomplishment. So is that what you're talking about? Yeah. But the other one is a good point, though. A lot of parents use a reward chart. Nope, don't do it. It's like telling them they're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. Yeah, we don't do that. I just expect good behavior. That's the normal. That's my baseline. How to correct biting and hitting from a 14-month-old. You're already using consistent corrective actions. You got to use it for like weeks. It takes a long time with little wee ones. It takes a long time. That's still kind of a baby. They're still babies till they're 16 months old, really. So yeah, it just takes time. You can't solve everything with a toddler. They're going to go through stuff and they're going to keep doing it for a while. It's just part of it. Toddlers are nuts. I'm going to read out. Like, there's nothing wrong with toddlers. It's just parents don't understand them. They just don't clue into stuff very quickly. Here's my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill. Number 4, when you want to discipline a toddler, you don't use words. Those mini therapy sessions discussing all big feelings and big emotions is absolute garbage. That was invented to make the mom feel good about herself, but it's not for the toddler. They're about actions. You use consistent corrective actions. People say I should elaborate on that. But it's just remove fun for them or remove them from the fun for a few minutes or whatever. They'll eventually learn, but you got to be fast. They have to connect the bad behavior with the action that you've just done. It has to be fast. They're right in the moment. And don't discuss it. Don't discuss bad behavior. There's no point. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and the first year you're a potato laying on a mattress. Like, they're just forming. So your expectations are usually the problem here. Whenever I'm hired by someone who has older kids and then they have a toddler, I'll ask them this once in a blue moon. I'll say this just so I can tell you. I'll say, do you want to discuss the toddler? And they'll look at me like, well, they're just nuts. Like, they don't even want to discuss the toddler. They get it. They've already lived through a toddler. They're just crazy. Let me see. I'm 20 minutes from Canada, Watertown. We're right on. It's funny because there was this old show. It was John Candy was in it. It was an old movie, a Canadian movie. And they were pretending like the Americans were worried because the Canadians had amassed all along the southern border ready to attack. It's just because north is cold. We all live on the southern borders. I thought that was funny. The Canadians have amassed along the southern border or the border just to attack us. No, we're just too cold up north. Four-year-old boy is tired all the time and acting out. Do you still do consequences knowing he's tired? Well, I don't know. Why is he tired all the time? Is he not getting enough sleep? Yeah, I would have you meet their needs and manage their wants. So the discipline is managing their wants, but meeting their needs. Part of that is bedtime battles. You might want to check out my bedtime battles course. Yeah. So maybe he's not getting enough sleep. Any advice for an 8-month-old baby who cries out of anger? No, they're just babies. They're just going to do what they're going to do. I always say you meet their needs and meet their wants with babies up until about probably 10, 14 months around there. But yeah, you're starting to correct them, but it's very gentle. You just go no or whatever. But if they're screaming, because they don't want to go down, they're just going to have to cry themselves to sleep sometimes. Yeah, and that's okay. They do survive. You don't, but they do. If it lasts for hours, I don't know. I don't want to assess that because you might want to hire me and see, something else is going on. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or anything, but lots of babies cry a lot. So I'm going to scroll ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. Oh, I don't let anybody in on my videos. I only did it once. I tell this story all the time whenever someone asks. It was about 2 years ago, and I was brand new at doing these lives. I used to do them every single day on TikTok. And someone asked to come in. I went, oh, okay, sure. And I let them in. And then they started talking about their business. I had thousands of people in that live, and they wanted my clients to sell to. And I didn't know how to get rid of them because I was new. So I've never done it since. Yeah, I'm just here to serve you. I'm just here to answer questions. I'm not here to provide a platform for other people to sell stuff. Not to say you would do that, but boy, I was not happy with that. I thought, how freaking rude. I would never do that. Anyway, some people. Anyway, okay. Yeah, she was very apologetic too. I do have a question. Too late. Goodbye. Too late. I'm a leader, remember. I need help with my son. He'll be 3 in October. He's going through this phase. I can tell he's very empathetic when he sees something that makes him feel sad on TV. He kicks me as hard as he can. Why does he do this? And well, that's two different things. He's empathetic, but he's sad, but he kicks you. So I don't quite know what your question is. What do you want to fix? His sensitivity to seeing something sad or the kicking? They don't go together. I don't quite know what you mean by that. You'll have to rephrase the whole question too, because I'll lose track of what you'd asked. This is on YouTube. By the way, the best place to watch these lives is on YouTube because it's a small platform. Like I only have about, I think, 15,000 people on there. So, which is good because I'm going to see almost all the questions. Whereas when I get on my big platforms here, like I've got over 1 million people on these other platforms, 1.4 million on these other platforms. So I'm not going to see all the questions. So YouTube's the best place to ask questions. Okay, I already answered that. My 2-year-old was having a fit. I ignored but prepared her food since it was snack time. I didn't mention it, but she started eating and the fit stopped. Will she feel like she is being rewarded with food? She won't connect the dots at 2. No, because you were already making dinner. You weren't giving her chocolate when she was having a fit, right? You were already getting a snack. No, I wouldn't worry about that because it was already happening anyway. I have a 4.5-year-old boy and a 3.5-year-old boy. I want to be a better parent for them. I don't know where to start. I need help becoming a leader. Okay, if you want something for free, you check out my behavior board. It's all linked in the description or whatever. Or you can look into my course, the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. That's 5 weeks for you to learn how to be a leader. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're teaching and fixing parents. You lead, they will follow. It's all you. It's all you. You lead, they will follow. I've worked with hundreds of kids, troubled teenagers, toddlers, everything in between. And I managed to get respect with them. Was it them or was it me? I know how to lead. I just get it. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. I just always was meant to. I really believe I was just always meant to do this. It was just my calling. But 11-year-old volunteers in daycare centers. Is that crazy? I look back. It seemed normal. None of my friends could understand it. I didn't even talk about it much because it's kind of embarrassing because they were, why are you doing that? I loved it. And the daycare ladies were saying, how do you do that? They want to be with you. You're fun, but they listen to you. And I didn't know how to answer that. I was a leader. I lead with fun. Fun is kids' love language. And with teenagers, I've worked with a lot of delinquent teenagers too. Humor, I used a lot of that. But I don't take any crap. I address everything. I don't discuss it, but I address everything. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid, on the connecting, on the bonding, on the relationship. You focus on their self-esteem. Every so often I'll say something to a client and they'll go, oh my God, I never saw it that way. And then I'll think, I've got it figured out. This is all I have to say and clients just get this. And then I'll say it to the next client and they'll be like this. Like everyone reacts to something differently. It's quite funny. I always think, I've got it figured out. This is the one statement that will sum up the whole, everything I'm teaching. It'll just sum it right up. But yeah, it's different for everybody. Everybody processes everything differently. We all do. Anyway, it was quite funny. So I said something today to someone and they just went, wow, I get that. It was just such a transformation. But yeah, and then the next person I said it to, they were like this. So it strikes me as funny. That's why I talk fast. I try and throw a lot of stuff out there. I throw a lot of stories in because I never know what's going to resonate with people. Everyone's different. But I will tell you something cute. This was my mom in a nutshell. I always say in a nutshell. She was in a nutshell about my mom. She was very multifaceted, but she was my idol. I just looked up to her. She was the most positive, fun, and she just knew how to make people feel good. She had it all. She had charisma out the wazoo. Anyway, she was lovely. But if I was acting like an idiot when I was a kid and just going on about something and complaining, my mom never criticized me. She never yelled, anything like that. She would say something like this. If I was going on and she was looking at me, she would have gone like this. She would have said, "Oh, I'm going to go bake a cake. Do you want to join me?" Like she would switch the energy like that. And I would be like, "Oh, okay." Like I was embarrassed. So that she was a leader. Like she got it. She didn't do that often enough. She should have done it more often. She let me go on too much. But when she did end it like that, I was like, okay, like it just switched the energy. So that you are in charge. You just don't see it yet. If you're struggling with your kids, not toddlers, they're just forming, but 3 and above, that's the height of your leadership. 3 to 12, they want to please you. You want them to look up to you. You want to be their leader, and they're looking for a leader. They need, crave, and want leadership. If you send your kids out there in the world without a leader, as a leader, they're going to be very susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. You get the idea. They're going to be looking for a leader anywhere else. You want it to be you. They need guidance. They're kids. What I said to that parent, I think it was this morning, was I said, they were saying, well, we just want our kids to be happy. That's why we give them everything. We make sure that. And I said, well, have you given them anything to be proud of? And the parents couldn't answer that. What have you given your kids to be proud of? Because it's not the behavior. That's why they hired me. The kids' behavior was out of control. You got to give kids something to be proud of. And behavior is where you start. You want them to be proud of being nice people. So guide them into making good choices and being nice. This is what I teach. I teach you how to raise nice kids. But then they're proud of themselves. They got something to be proud of, right? I remember once I was talking to a principal or something, and I always got these handwritten notes from principals. If all the kids were as nice as your kids, school would be a joy. Anyway, and this principal was talking about one of my kids right in front of them and going on about, geez, what are you doing? Your kids are just so nice and that. And this was my kid's face. It meant nothing to them because they knew they were like, it just meant nothing to them because they knew they were nice. And I just remember looking at my kid thinking, you don't even care about that. They just already knew that they were nice. Like it didn't mean anything to them because they already knew it. So it struck me as funny. Okay. Something that came up, I'm not getting all our questions, so I always throw stuff in. Something came up. Someone asked me this once on a live, and I thought it was an interesting question. They said, how do we make the older kids the leaders of the younger kids? And I instantly said, no. You're the leaders. You make the older siblings heroes. There's a difference. They're not in charge of parenting. You are. You're the leader. But you make them the hero. Set them up as the hero. Say, oh, he really needs you or she really looks up to you. You make them the hero, not the leader. Don't expect your older kids to raise your younger kids. I was quite surprised at that. No one had ever asked me that before. That was a few weeks ago now. It was on a live. Okay. I'm using the no talking to my 6-year-old boy when he's having his tantrum, hitting and yelling. I want my real mom, you're a robot. Then he cries nonstop saying he does not like consequences. So just ignore it. Yeah. I want my real mom, you're a robot. Good for you. You want to be, it's all business. You are a robot now. You're just waiting. You're just filing your nails, waiting. someone, I'm trying to answer comments once in a while now. I just haven't had time, but anyway, I'm trying to do that once in a while. So someone said, "Oh, I've been filing my nails down to the nubs." So I said, "Well, you're gonna have to start doing air filing, like air guitars, just air filing. When they're having a tantrum, you're like filing your nails, like you're just waiting. You're just waiting. Don't get involved in that. When your kids are rolling around in the manure, which is what a tantrum is, you stay in the flower bed waiting for them to join you. Do not go in the manure with them. Do not talk to them. Don't look at them. Just let them sit there in their own swine. You know what I mean? Like, let them go. Don't join in. Any attention, any eye contact or talking to them is joining them. You're becoming part of it, and you're condoning it. I remember as a kid, like some kids just have, they're born to have tantrums. It's a temperament, right? They're the adults who are short-tempered too. It's just a temperament. You're born with a certain temperament. I've never had a tantrum. My daughter never did. My son did. It's just something that you're either born to do or you're not. Anyway, but it's your job to teach them out of that. So my son outgrew tantrums. I think his last one was at 3.5. He didn't have many, but he had one at 3 and then another one at 3.5, and then that was kind of it. Anyway, but yeah, it's just a certain temperament that you're born with. And I can remember being a very young child, like probably 3, and I remember seeing other kids tantrum, and I remember thinking, how embarrassing. Like I can literally remember thinking, why would you do that? How humiliating. Like I just thought I'd be so embarrassed to do that. And I remember when my daughter came along, she was the same. I remember her looking at other kids doing it, and she was looking like this, like, oh. Whereas my son would just let it fly. He could have cared less. That was funny. Yeah, they're just going to have them or they're not. Okay, I'm going to move over. I'm not getting many questions on here. So I'm going to move over to Instagram now. Instagram and TikTok are my way bigger platforms. So it gets really busy over there. It's best to watch me on YouTube. That's where my smallest platform, and I'm more likely to see your questions on there. Anyway, I got to go. I'm going to go over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses, one for toddlers, one for older kids, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching that I will get to eventually. Anyway, happy parenting. Bye now. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Maria. How come you've got a capital A at the end of your name? Was that because someone else had the same name and then you put the A in like that? I don't know. I'm just curious. Okay. Hello. Oh, I've already got like 150 here. Okay, so let's get going with your questions as soon as I finished introducing myself. For anyone who might be new here, most people are regulars, but I sometimes get new people too. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids. And then you can look into coaching. I have a wait list, but I'll get to you eventually. Okay, let's get going with your questions. Just a sec. Oh, yes. Oh, I see someone else had that. Sorry, I was asking a question on someone on YouTube. YouTube is the best place to watch these lives. It's my smallest platform. Yeah, like I have 1.4 million on my social media, but only 15,000 are on YouTube. So I'm going to see your questions on there. I don't even see half the questions on here. So I'm getting to as many as I can. Plus, if I do see your question and I don't answer it, it's because I like to mix up the ages, or it might be a repeat of something someone's already asked. Okay, how to get toddlers to listen the first time? You don't. Toddlers don't listen the first time. Yeah, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler is under the age of 3 to me in my lingo. Anyway, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world, not yours. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill. They just look differently at you. Number 4 is it's kind of similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words, they're about actions. So you use consistent corrective actions, and you got to do it right in the moment, fast. As soon as they've done the deed, then you say no, and then you take action. You remove them from the fun or fun from them just for a few minutes. It's letting them know. All these words discussing big feelings and big emotions, it's absolute garbage. That was invented years and years ago to make the mom feel good. It was just feeding the mom's needs. It has nothing to do with the toddlers. They're not listening. They're watching. Number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They're in the discovery stage, and they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. It might take 50 times for these corrective actions to take effect. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Try and make sense out of that. Like they're just brand new, right? They don't know. Okay, good question. I haven't been asked this one for a long time. I have in coaching, but not in lives. 11-year-old received a 24-hour no screens, but I caught her sneaking a screen. What happens now? Still trying to be a calm leader. Say, oh, you snuck a screen. Now, I would say to her, what do you think we should do about that? Ask her. So confront her on it. Don't be angry. Never show any anger. Say, what do you think we should do about that? What do you think? I can come up with something, but if you come up with something better, we'll do it. Say, I was thinking that we just maybe we could do another 24 hours, or we could do, come up with something. Work with her on that. She's 11. You don't do that with a 5-year-old, but with an 11-year-old, yeah, I'd work with her on that. Now, if she says another 24 hours, I would cut it back. If she's that responsible and takes ownership and offers another 24 hours, I wouldn't do it. I'd say, I'll tell you what, I'm very proud of you for offering that. So what we're going to do instead is just do a chore. Reward her for coming up with that responsible one. Give her a chance to be redemption. Give her a chance here. So yeah, I'd work. That's a really good opportunity for you to work with her. That's a good one. I like that. Okay, how does that sound?
Alarm for what time?
Alexa, stop. I didn't even say her name, did I? How do you address timeout for toddlers? I don't. I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I would never do it. I think it's humiliating. You go in the corner and you think about what you did. They're not thinking. They're just sitting there feeling like crap. I think it's mean. Yeah, I don't do timeout. Ever. Oh, we just talked about timeout. This is just popped over from Facebook. Welcome over. Because I go Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. What's the best method for ignoring the tantrum if my 3-year-old sometimes wants to smile? Okay, when they get violent during a tantrum, okay, you don't do timeout. When they get violent, you physically restrain them. You don't look at them or talk to them. You might say no and then just ignore and you hold them just for a minute or so and then let go. If they go at you again or start getting violent, you grab them. This is when they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. You only do that with young children. You don't do that with teenagers. Believe me, you don't do that. Unless they're hurting someone, you might try to intervene. But if they're just damaging property, I always tell parents you might end up with a couple holes in the walls. That's just part of the deal with teenagers. Not all of them, but some of them. Okay. So yeah, just physically restrain. How old was that kid? If my 3 years old. Yeah, that's all you do. There's something else you could do, but not at 3. Okay. Yeah, I don't let anyone in my lives. I only did it once, and it was a disaster. They tried to sell to my audience. They wanted to talk about their business. They wanted to make some sales. Oh, I was horrified. You notice I don't do stuff like that, right? Like, I don't do that. This isn't just business to me. This is, I take this seriously. I'm here to serve you in these lives. I'm not here to allow people to sell their stuff. Wouldn't you feel used if I did that? Wouldn't you just feel so, you'd think, what a filthy thing to do. Like, she wasn't paying me or anything, but let's say I did that. People sometimes do that. They'll bring someone in and then they'll try and sell their stuff and they're getting a cut of it. Oh, I don't like that. I just don't like it. Okay, I probably shouldn't say much more because people probably do that. So anyway, plus I'm in the caring field. Hey, you want to buy a fry pan and I get a cut of that? Like, strikes me as funny. Okay. How do you discipline a 3.5-year-old when they do not want to do what you're asking? Well, check out my behavior board, or you might want to look into the boot camp course. Okay. It goes through how you do all this. How do you handle a sore winner? So you got a 10-year-old. Okay. They're not born. This is a learned behavior. We're not born to be poor sports. Okay. We can be born to be competitive, but that's different. You can be competitive, but be a good loser. You can be, you know what I mean? My mom used to say, and I never understood this growing up. I thought, what's the big deal? She used to always say, I'm so proud of you kids. You're such good sports. And we were good sports. Like we're very, not sore losers at all. But I couldn't figure, she hated a sore loser. It drove her nuts. It just annoyed her. So she made sure we were not. Now we play to win, but we don't care if we win because my mother emphasized how you play. So it's the playing that she put all the emphasis on. You played so well. And I remember I might say, yeah, but I lost. She goes, it doesn't matter. You play. I'd rather play well and lose than win through luck. So, yeah. So it's a learned behavior. You're focused too much on winning. That's usually what it is. When you focus on winning, then that implies that there's shame in losing. You see? Yeah. So focus on playing and play less competitive things. Play, games or just do silly dances or whatever you want. Oh, he's 10. Sorry. Just play video games or whatever. There's no real winner or loser and just focus on playing, not winning. It's also people who are sore losers are usually also insecure. A secure person, I don't need to win to feel good about myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel less of a person because I lost a stupid game. Like, it doesn't do anything to me. I could care less. That's why I was always the last one picked for any sports. I was never athletic. I'm very into fitness, but I'm not athletic with games because I never cared if I won or not. I didn't put a lot into it. I just don't care about winning or losing. Okay. But I'm just looking on YouTube here. Okay, so what this mom's asking, Carly Zerla is asking, I have a almost 3-year-old. I'm a single mom. My son is with his dad on weekends. Is there advice on how to maintain these lessons with him when I don't have him 3 to 4 times days at a time? Yes, there is. He's old enough to start understanding that there's different environments and they adjust to each one. An example of this is when they go to daycare. They're usually a little bit different there because they're reacting to the daycare person. When they're at your house, they're reacting to you. When they're at dad's house, they're reacting to him. So they do tend to, and they are very quick to follow a leader. So, and as they become 3.5 or 4, when they just need one leader, when they've got that leader, they carry that leadership person at who they are with you. They tend to take, that's the dominant one because that's the one that provides them with the most pride and the highest self-esteem. They like themselves the most when they're with the leader. So that's the person that they become. Who they are with the leader is more likely to be who they become. So the leader has the dominant role in who they become. So yeah, but that starts now. Still a bit young for that. They're going to probably push, you know what I mean? They're going to push boundaries more now. But once you're a really good leader, by 3.5 to 4 years old, it's kind of cemented. They're under your leadership umbrella and they take that umbrella everywhere they go. Because they like themselves when they're with you. They like how you've raised them. They have self-respect. They have high self-esteem. They have pride in themselves. So they like themselves when they're a leader. That's what a leader does for a child. So they tend to become that person. Does that make sense? Advice for someone who can't think of a natural consequence on the spot. Well, I'm going to say you got an 8-year-old, okay, because you didn't put an age. So we're talking a lot about toddlers here, but let's mix it up. So let's say you got an 8-year-old and you can't come up with a consequence. You use deferred punishments, and what you do, or deferred consequences, whatever you want to call it. And you say, I'll tell you what, I didn't like that. We'll discuss it after dinner. Gives them time to sweat and you time to think. Check out my behavior board. It'll tell you how to do this. And also look at the boot camp course. It goes from 3 to 12 years old if you've got an older one. If you've got a toddler, it's a little bit different the way it's laid out. You can't go through a process with a toddler. You're more just reacting to things they're going to try. So it's laid out very differently. But the 3 to 12-year-old one is really focused on you and your leadership. The toddler one is more focused on just managing each situation as it comes up. I think I've got about 50 different chapters in there. They're short. They're just little short blurbs. And it was all, you guys told me what to put in there. I always said I'm never going to do a course on toddlers because what am I going to put in it? Toddlers are crazy. The end. So I asked you, what do you want me to put in there? And so I think I put 53 chapters in there. It was all based on what you wanted. It was on Instagram I did that. So it was all you guys who told me what to put in it. That toddler course is new. It just came out in July. Or maybe even August. It's really new. So I'm just scrolling ahead so that you're still, oh my gosh. I'm just making sure you're still here. Which course would you recommend for a 2-year-old that 2-month-old from turning 3? That is 2 months from turning 3. Oh, I would get the 3 to 12. Yeah. It can go 1, maybe 2 months under 3. Yeah, get the 3, but not more than that. There's still stuff in the toddler one that can kind of help you out with, even a little bit older, but yeah, get the 3. I'm trying to mix up ages here, but it's mostly toddler stuff you're asking about. And I know there's parents, I specialize in teenagers. So if you've got a teenager and you got a question, feel free to ask. I am going to read out and everyone's going to have a teenager eventually. So it's going to pertain to you anyway. What happens though, is if parents have older kids and they turn up in these lives and they see I'm just talking about toddlers all the time, they bail. They think all I talk about is toddlers. My specialty is teenagers. So which also happens to be my favorite age. I started my business doing teen crisis work. Now I lean into prevention more than dealing with crisis. I'm more into preventing rather than fixing problems. The big stuff anyway. Okay, but I still do that. Okay, now these are my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. If you listen to gather information to lecture with, they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, negotiate as much as possible. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's building reciprocity, mutual respect. Give them a voice. And number 3, with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? And laugh it off. Okay, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be perfect. Parents tend to expect more from their kids than they expect from themselves. It's quite interesting, actually. They do. And number 5 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. Whenever I'm working with parents with teenagers that they are just clashing all the time, and I'll teach them how to start connecting. And then I say, when you're connecting and you're sitting chatting with your teenager for the first time in maybe 2 years that you've really sat and had fun together, do not talk about the bad times. Do not. And some parents, every so often, they'll say, oh, I messed up. I said, oh, well, I'm so happy that we're having a great day because the last 2 years with you have been hell. And they can't figure out why their teenager gave them the finger, told them to F off, and wouldn't talk to them for the rest of the week. Like, I know exactly what you just did. So yeah, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. And then parents say, when do we discuss the bad behavior? Never. What's the point? What's the point? I asked a client that today. I can understand why you'd ask that. Why don't we discuss the bad behavior? If you can come up with a reason why you need to do that, you deal with it, have a consequence for it. I don't discuss bad behavior. Why? Why would I not discuss it? Or why would I discuss it? You can come up with a good answer. Some of my clients are child psychologists and they can't come up with a good answer either. So why would you discuss bad behavior? Why do you focus on that? Why do you need to? Why do you need to berate them and bring them down? Don't do it. Teenager, what's the worst teen age you see? I know 10 is the number 1 where trauma really starts. No, not that I've seen. But where do you find the worst behavior starts? Well, it depends. Oh God, it's such a long answer because I love stuff like this. The tween years, it can start with girls anywhere between 9 and 12. Okay. Boys are more 13, more 15 is usually when it really starts with boys. Girls, the real nasty stuff can start 12 to 16 with girls. Boys are 15, just turned 15. Almost always just turned 15. I don't know why. It's like they've got an alarm clock and 15th birthday, that's it. But girls are 12 to 16, but 9 to 12, they can really start with the attitude. Girls, they can really start with the attitude. And that goes around the period, right? If they have an early period, it can kick in then. I think the youngest client I had that had a period was 6. My parents called middle school the dark ages for me. Middle school's tough. Oh, it's tough. I don't agree with the fact that they've put 7, 8, 9 together, because it's just the worst age. I think they should have gone like I did it. I went from like kindergarten to 7, then 8, 9, 10. So you kind of mixed in with some older kids to kind of mix it up a little bit. And then it was 11, 12 was senior high. So we were separated. Anyway, but yeah, I don't like the fact that is it 6, 7, 8? It's 6, 7, 8, I think, is middle school. 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know. I'm mixed up now. And it depends where you are, because I've talked to different people and it just depends where you are too. How do you prevent a teen from not doing very good with a chore? Just say, okay, here's the chore. If it's not done well, then there'll be a consequence. Or it's not done. If it's not done well, it's not done. Plus, always have a time limit. If this is your phone, say, look, here's your chore. You got 15 minutes to get it done, or there'll be a consequence. So put a timer on. Without a timer, without it being measurable, like, is it done well? And is it done in a time frame? What's the point? How can you police it? How do you have any clout? Yeah, it's got to be measurable. Six, 7, 8 together. Yeah, I think it's 6, 7, 8, because 9, 10, 11, 12, I think are all together. Yeah, it is 6, 7, 8. Well, my kids are older now, so. But it's different depending where you are too. Okay, totally off topic, but what led you and your family to live in Australia for a while? Just to mix stuff up here. I'm married in Australia and I'm Canadian. And then we were kind of talking about where we were going to live. And so I wanted kids right away. So in order to do that, we needed his job because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So he was already established in Australia. So I moved there. And I was there for about 20 years, just under 20 years. And then we divorced. And then we moved. After we separated, we moved back to Canada because my mom got ill. And so he came with us. I would not have taken kids away from their dad. But yeah, I loved it there. I never had one North American friend the whole time I was there. I was completely ensconced in the Australian way. I would never have left if my mom hadn't got ill. She died in my arms a few years later. It was a beautiful goodbye. So no regrets either way. I loved Australia. Absolutely loved it. I love Canada too, but I'm torn between both. But my son still has an Australian accent, but because he was 15 when we moved back, but my daughter was only 10. So there's some people notice it with her. But yeah, I loved Australia. I feel very lucky to have two countries that I feel that at home in. And yeah. What's confident and authentic leadership? I don't talk like that, so I don't know. You'd have to decide. Maybe you'd find someone who teaches confident and authentic leadership. I don't do that. I don't use those words. What are your thoughts on homeschooling? That's a personal choice. It's like religion, breastfeeding till they're 5, co-sleeping. Those are all personal choices. I don't have any opinions on them. Like, not professional opinions. Well, I'm not professional anyway. I'm just self-taught. But you know what I mean. It's just, I have some personal views on what I would do, but that doesn't mean that that's right or wrong. So I don't have any personal opinion. The only thing that I always warn parents with homeschooling is I've talked to lots of teenagers and they've said we can spot a homeschooled kid a mile away. So once they hit high school, they're usually mainstreamed. And you want to make sure that you've socialized your homeschool kids with other kids too that are not homeschooled. Homeschooled communities tend to have very tight-knit communities, a lot of activities with other homeschool families, which is great, but you also want to branch them out so they're around other kids who are not homeschooled. So yeah, they're just not exposed to a lot of bullying and the social integration kind of stuff, finding your way. That's what they struggle with. So they can really, and teenage years are really difficult years often anyway. So you don't want to add to that by them having no exposure to non-homeschooled kids. That's the only negative I've ever seen. What caused the divorce? Oh, that's all private. Yeah, that's all private stuff. But we always got along. Like the kids didn't really suffer with the separation because he came over for dinner every night still for quite some time, just so that they, adjust and all that. So yeah, we never fought or anything. So yeah, just, to be honest, we probably never should have got married, to be honest. And that's okay. We lasted 15 years. So, but yeah, it just wasn't a good match, period. That's all. Period. No animosity or anything. Yeah, I'm going to tell the story about my mom when she died because I think it's a beautiful story. I actually told it recently in one of my videos, and yeah, it was beautiful. She was 93. She had dementia for 6 years before she passed, but she always knew who we were. We were very lucky about that. But I hadn't had a conversation with her in 6 years because she couldn't remember from one second to the next, basically, So, but she still knew who we were. And it was funny. She remembered some of the big stuff. Like if I told her something big, she'd remember that. Like it was quite interesting. But she always was surprised at my age. She always thought I was like 25 and I was 55 when she died. Like she always thought, I said, Mom, my kids are that age. And it was just cute. But anyway, so I'll tell you, this is so cute. My mom and I were very close. We became best friends throughout the years. When I was living in Australia, we wrote every single day. And when I moved back to Canada, I moved very close to her. So it was like a 5-minute drive. And we missed our emails. So even though we lived 5 minutes away, I still saw her every day, but we emailed every single day throughout the day. So we still did the emails because we missed it so much. Anyway, we were very, very close. And so we always said, she always said, on my deathbed, we'll have nothing left to say. Because we said, I love you every single day and how important we were to each other. We were always saying stuff like that to each other. So there was no regrets, there would never have been any. So we used to laugh, and she was very funny. So she always said, well, you'll have nothing to say on my deathbed. As she's dying in my arms, I won't go into detail, but you can tell when someone's going. And so I was holding her in my arms, and I said, and I was trying to say, I love you. And I said, you're right, Mom, I've got nothing left to say. And she was gasping every 20 seconds. Like they don't breathe normally at the end. They can't see or feel you, but they can hear you. And that's what the doctor told me. She goes, talk to her because she can hear you. And anyway, so I said, you're right, Mom, I've got nothing left to say. And she did a sort of a laugh. That was her very last breath, was a laugh. And I thought, wow, imagine going out, being held by someone that you love, that loves you, and your last breath is a laugh. Wow, what a way to go. 93 years old, what a way to go. Anyway, it was, very traumatic, but it was also, could it have been any better than that? No, it was beautiful. It was actually beautiful. And, but yeah, I was very lucky. I lucked out. I was adopted. I lucked out. I got great parents. My dad died of cancer when I was young, though. So that was very painful. It was the most painful thing I've ever been through. And I'm 63. Nothing's ever topped that. And I hope it doesn't. But anyway, so yeah, but it was wonderful. And I was very lucky, very fortunate. So that's my mom. Yeah, she was funny. Oh, and she had a lot of sayings that I live by now. Like she said, happiness is it's a choice, not a circumstance. She got up every morning and she says, today's going to be a good day because I've decided it is. Like she was a joy-seeking missile. She was my idol. I just idolized that woman. Everyone loved my mom. She had charisma out the wazoo. And she was just fun. She was fun. Anyway, but yeah, she had this great attitude about life. She had a tough life, but and I really tried to instill that in my kids. My kids are not complainers at all. I really tried to instill gratitude in them and being hardworking and all that. And I got that from my mom, was being grateful and not complaining. I don't have a lot of time for whiny people in my life. I like to be around positive people because it's a choice, not a circumstance, right? See, I'm 63 now. If she saw me now, she'd probably still think I was 16. She kept going back. I kept getting younger every time I saw her because she had dementia every time I saw her. And at the end there, I was younger than my own kids. And I would even have my kids with me. And she still, like my son was 26 when she died. And he still thought she thought I was younger than my son. Isn't that cute how they get stuff mixed up? It was really cute. Anyway, I got to go. I'm going to move over to, sorry about all that, but I just think it's kind of nice to hear that. Anyway. So I'm going to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids, or you can look into coaching. There is a wait list for coaching, but I'll get to eventually. Anyway, happy parenting. I'm going over to TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all of my lives are saved. Happy parenting. I don't know if any of you were with me the other day, but I went on my wrong channel and I kept saying, why is no one turning up on my TikTok? I was on my personal one. I just talk about old lady fitness on there. The amount of times I've done that, like it's not a first time. I do that a lot. But luckily, a lot of people follow me on both. So they said, you're on the wrong channels. Whereas other people who don't know that I teach this, that into parenting, they were probably going, what the heck? Okay, how many people are here now? I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. Best place to watch these lives is on YouTube because that's my smallest platform, and I'm going to see pretty much all the questions on there. I don't answer all the questions because I like to mix up the ages, but I will see them all. Oh, we have a 4-year-old and he's starting to lie. How do we get him to tell the truth? You don't so much focus on him telling the truth. You focus on him stop lying. So you put down no lying on the behavior board. The behavior board is completely free. Just check it out in my description on YouTube or in the bio here and TikTok. Anyway, and just say no lying is the rule. Just say it like it is. No lying. And if he lies, there's a consequence. Don't shame him for it. Don't discuss bad behavior. Just deal with it. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. Where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. If you're focusing on discussing the bad behavior, you're going to get more of it. Guaranteed. Because it'll start to become their identity. Okay, there's a lot of toddler questions. A toddler does not understand not answering, not interrupting, okay? You just have to learn to sort of shut it down. You just say, no, I'm talking, and then you keep talking. If they keep interrupting, just kind of keep them at bay. But yeah, it's kind of hard to do. It's not, everyone wants to teach toddlers stuff. I've got a whole course on toddlers and how you can't teach them stuff, but how to deal with stuff. But they will learn, but slowly but surely. They're not listening to you. That's the problem. They're not listening. They're watching you. So everything with you has to be actions. It has to be consistent corrective actions. I know with toddlers, it's really trendy right now to talk about all their big feelings and big emotions. These mini therapy sessions, as I call them, they're absolute crap. They're just ridiculous. I remember when that pleaser parent style started coming in. It was like 30, 40 years ago. And it started coming in with participation awards. It's the stupidest thing you ever heard of. You just turn up and you get an award. How dumb is that? Anyway, I used to have, this is like years ago, I used to have a column in the newspaper here, a parenting column. And I wrote this, there was an article that came out, and I think it was in California. And this mom was suing the school because her child did not get a participation award for sports day, right? Turns out the kid never even went. And the mother still wanted the child to get, he wanted a non-participation award. And I don't know if they won. They probably would have won. It was so ridiculous. And so I wrote a whole article on that. And boy, did I ever get a whole bunch of hate. See, that stuff was coming in and it was very trendy because it was feeding the mom's emotions. It has nothing to do with the kids and it fails. It's a big disaster, the whole pleaser parent style. But no one was listening to me back then, except teachers, principals, child psychologists. They were on my side. But yeah, this trendy parenting thing coming in with all this pleaser parent, discussing all the big emotions and all that garbage. Oh, so frustrating. Now people are listening because they know that didn't work. I said decades ago, we're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. And there's going to be a huge drug problem and a homeless problem because people are raising self-entitled snowflakes. And anyway, I'm not saying I was right about the homelessness and the drug problem, but we're certainly no better than we were, are we? Yeah, I just saw this all coming big time because everything starts when you're a child, right? If you weren't learned fortitude and how to be a hard worker, how to have self-respect and be respectful, if you don't learn that as a child, you go out in the world and you just don't have any work ethic. You're a victim of everything, you know? Where's the fortitude? Where's the strength? You said, I have a trauma question. Okay, I'm listening. What's your trauma question? Well, I need the age. So you're asking, how can I help my daughter process through big feelings while we wait to get into a therapist? So obviously you're going through something big, but how old is she? I can't answer that without an age. I'm going back. You haven't mentioned the age. She's 8. Okay, she's 8 years old and you're waiting to see a therapist. I don't know what the trauma is. I can't really answer that because I don't know what the trauma is. But it's important that you make sure they can tell you anything and don't overreact. Don't cry. Don't overreact. Just say, you can tell me anything. Let's talk about it. Secrets imply shame. Don't look upset when she's talking about what she's been through. Just say, you can tell me. Oh, that would be difficult. You show understanding and empathy while you're waiting to go to the therapist. Also, when a child is going through something, I went through trauma when I was a kid. My dad died when I was 14, but he was sick from the time I was 10. I knew he was dying when I was 11. I figured it out. I heard someone talking and I already knew. Anyway, and it wasn't discussed. Secrets imply shame. And I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't really want to know. It was very painful. It was easier once it was out in the open. So when things aren't talked about, it's harder. So and I've dealt with a lot of kids with trauma, and abuse, and horrible stuff. But yeah, I'm very careful in that I don't show any emotions when they're telling me stuff. I'm very, okay, I'm here for you. I'm here. It's okay. Also, they always think they're the only ones who've ever been through this stuff. When my dad was dying, I didn't know anybody else who was going through anything like that at all. It was such a lonely, isolating, horrible, awful time in my life. No one else understood. No one else was going through it. And isolation is horrible. So yeah, if there's other kids that are going through stuff, it helps a huge deal. And there's lots of groups out there for support for stuff like that. Okay, what about divorce? Well, we went through that with our kids. They were 9 and 14. No one saw it coming because we never fought. It was we just didn't care really. Never should have got married for sure. But anyway, that's okay. We had 2 great kids. No regrets. But anyway, but yeah, we just always got along. That's the most important thing. They don't care if you're together. They just care if you get along. You fight scares the hell out of them. It scares the bejeebies out of them if you fight. They don't care that you're together. They just care that you get along. So we always got along. We still went to everything together. We still spend holidays together, like, Christmas and all that. So no issues. You're stuck with that person for the rest of your life. So get used to it. Just because you wouldn't choose them now doesn't, your kids did not choose their life with you and that person. So you have to make the most of it. Take the high road. I was talking to someone and they said their kids said, "Oh, we're so much happier when you split up," because they weren't living with the fighting all the time. Our kids never saw us fight before or after, and it's the fighting that scares them, not the divorce. How to deal with teenagers' screen addiction. Oh goodness, that's a big one. You can give them an allotted hours per week and say, this is how many hours that you've got. I'll keep track of them, but that's all the hours that you get. You can try that. Or you can just, it's different in every single household though. If you've got a 17-year-old, how the heck are you going to do that? So yeah, you'd have to hire me for coaching and we'd have to figure out how you can negotiate with your teenager. Otherwise, just have an allotted amount of hours per week and say, once it's over, it's over. And then turn off the Wi-Fi and get their phone. If you can't do that, then you'd have to hire me because that's next level. A lot of parents say, how on earth am I going to get a phone off a kid? Yeah, it's tricky. That's right. With teenagers, a lot of parents, when they hire me to work with, if they've got teenagers, they're often disappointed in the first session or two because I don't deal with the bad behavior, because you got to connect with them first. I got to figure out where you're at with them. Where are you as a parent? What's your history? Where are you? What's your relationship like? Do they respect you? Don't they? Before I know how to move forward. Teenagers are more delicate. It's my favorite age, but they're more savvy, right? You can't fool them. So I got to figure out where you're at before I can figure out how to move forward. And the first week with most clients anyway is me assessing. Like the second session is where I kind of figure out, oh, how did last week go? And then I get a better picture. But yeah, teenagers, you gotta, they're different. Because you got to let stuff go. And that's the biggest thing with parents is they expect that their teenagers to do whatever they say. It doesn't work that way. You got to negotiate stuff with them. Like, I don't believe in curfews or grounding teenagers or anything. It doesn't mean they're out all night. It just means you can say to them, hey, look, can you come home earlier tonight or whatever? And they'll respect you, and they will. Or if they're having a great time, they'll phone you up and say, hey, I'm having a great time. Can I stay later? I'd say, sure, if it was okay with me. So yeah. It's don't do curfews. Curfews are a sign that you're out of control. By the way, most kids who get in trouble do so at school behind the bleachers or something anyway. A lot of pregnancies happen there. I worked with a lot of teenagers, and because by the time they get pregnant or get in trouble in some way, the parents are already coming down hard on them because they're in trouble. They're trying to control them. So they make sure they pick them up right after school. They're not allowed to go out at night and all that. But they're in the staff bathroom they've got friends guarding the door. They're going to find a way to do what they're going to do. So your only power is your relationship and your bond and your connection with your teenager, the mutual respect. That is your only power with teenagers. If they respect you because you respect them, they're not going to get in trouble. You've got to put the age down if you ask a question. Because are they 1, 6, 16? Different answers. Started boot camp first week, how to make them understand that one behavior board goes up 1 week, then move on. They don't do what the behavior board, but do something else, how to deal with all behavior. I don't quite know what you mean. So what they're saying is they started my boot camp course in week 1, which would be the 3 to 12-year-old one, because it's 5 weeks. The toddler one is more like an encyclopedia reference material, but the 3 to 12-year-old is like a 5-week program. So started boot camp first week, how to make them understand that one behavior board goes up 1 week, then we move on. Yeah, you don't move on, you're still doing it. So week 1, you've got 1 behavior board. Week 2, now you've got 2 behavior boards. They'll learn as you go. They don't have to understand everything right when it happens. They will learn as you go. If they're arguing, say, well, you'll learn as we go. Right? Yeah, it's a learning curve. Oh, how to deal with all the other behaviors? I would have put that in the course. The other stuff you don't worry about. We're only focused on that one behavior board. You don't apply any of the consequences to anything else they're doing. So you're just focused on one behavior when you're first starting this. And then you've got 2 behaviors in week 2. Okay, 2 rules, 2 behaviors, 2 battles that you're fighting. All the other stuff, don't even worry about it. At the very most, you might say that might go on a future behavior board. But we only do 3 of them. So if you've already done 3, you don't say that. So by week 4, we start to address everything in the moment, because the behavior boards are just a teaching tool to teach you how to do this. After 3 weeks, once you've learned how to do this, then you don't need the behavior boards. You can still use them, but we do in the moment discipline, and we deal with everything. So you're just starting out. You're kind of trying to jump ahead a little bit. Just follow the program. Trust in it. It works. Yeah. The only times it doesn't work is if the parents don't follow through, and they own it usually, or if you're a red zone next level, there's really horrible stuff going on. But yeah, that would be coaching. But a 2-year-old eats at the speed of light. I'm always having to slow her down. That's like me. I eat fast. Like my son-in-law too. The 2 of us are like garbage cans the way we eat. I guess that's okay to say about me, not him though. We're both very fast eaters. Whereas my daughter chews everything. We swallow everything whole. We don't chew. Anyway, so yeah, you can get like break everything down into little tiny pieces, or you can get those plates that are hard to eat from. That's like the doggy bowl kind of idea. So make it like a game, or you can just feed them a little bit at a time. So give them a little bit and then wait a minute and give them a little bit more. So yeah, look, there's lots of creative ideas around that. You can look that up. Okay, actually, I got to get going because I still got a lot of work to do tonight, and it's 7:30 already. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them, toddlers and an older one, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching, but I will get to eventually. So happy parenting. Bye now.